Here's Dr. Gil Lederman, New York's only Harvard-trained, triple-board certified radiation cancer doctor. If chemosurgery or radiation isn't working or isn't tolerated, when cancer and its pain and symptoms aren't getting better, seek a fresh second opinion at Radiosurgery New York's Urgent Cancer Consultants for innovative, custom-tailored cancer treatment. See our experts within one business day because we know your time and your life are precious. Our goal is proper diagnosis and effective, non-invasive outpatient treatment. Decades of leadership, first in New York with brain radiosurgery, first in America with body radiosurgery for cancers of the brain, body, and prostate, all custom-tailored for you. Call 212-CHOICES, 212-CHOICES for a prompt appointment and free booklet DVD. Super convenient, 38th and Broadway, with most insurances, Medicare, Medicaid accepted. You're next at Radiosurgery New York. Just call 212-CHOICES, 212-CHOICES.
Welcome, everybody. It's the Radiosurgery Show with Dr. Gil Lederman, MD, New York's only Harvard-trained, triple-board certified radiation oncologist who brings you the latest cancer treatment news, interviewing world-renowned cancer experts, delving into special cases, and, of course, answering your questions. I'm Rob Redstone, broadcasting from the WOR studios in the heart of New York City. And now, please welcome Dr. Lederman.
The point of our show is to get you even more well and do the right things and live the right healthy life. And if, God forbid, you have cancer or your friend or loved one or family, how you can get the best possible treatment, which is so important, so important. We're live at the WOR studio today, and you're welcome to call us. Bob and Ed are in the control panels, and they're running the phones in the studio and making WOR percolate this morning. So that's why it's doing so well. So again, my name is Dr. Lederman from Radiosurgery New York, and we're talking about cases, and I want to start with some cases and some news. There's some new medical reports for some cancers that I think you will be interested in. The first case actually I want to talk about is a young man. He's bodybuilder, trainer, is muscular, strong. He comes strutting. He's got muscles like, I don't know what, steam pipes. And yet he has a pituitary tumor. Pituitary is the master gland. It kind of runs our life and controls our thyroid and our sexual function and other functions. And it's situated just next to what's called the optic chiasm. The optic chiasm, whereas all the vision from the eyes pass through nerves to go to the brain so we can see. We don't actually see in the eyes. The eyes are kind of like the lens of a camera, and the brain is kind of like the film. And the light has to get from the eyes to the brain, and it does so by going through the optic nerves after it leaves the retina and passes by the optic chiasm, where both nerves from the right eye and the left eye merge. Well, that creates a vulnerable spot, as you can imagine, if all the vision's going through one spot, and that one spot is just above where pituitary gland sits in the center of our head. And if the pituitary gland enlarges by itself, it can become a benign tumor, and sometimes even cancers spread to the pituitary gland. So some cancers like breast cancer and lung cancer and melanoma and kidney cancer can spread to the pituitary, and they can wrap around the chiasm, and they can take away our vision. So it's very frightening territory. This gentleman had a surgery on his pituitary about 4 years ago. He was getting MRIs. He went to a little place close to home and was always told everything was A-okay. And then this January, he was told things were not okay. The tumor was growing. I saw the patient, and like I like to do, I contacted the radiologist, and we had a conversation with the patient in the room. So the patient was part of the process. So I don't like to exclude the patient. I think the patient should know what's going on in their own body. They deserve to know what's going on in their own body, right? They're the main ones. The patient is the president of the United States of his body or her body. So we spoke to the radiologist and actually pulled out all the scans from the last years. And in fact, the tumor was slowly growing over the years. And you expect that because the patient had surgery. Surgery doesn't treat all the tumor. Surgery just removes whatever it removes and leaves the rest, and the rest would keep on growing, right? If you cut off, I don't know, half a cancer, the rest is going to keep on growing. So this kept on growing, and he was very upset, and his surgeon pushed him to have more brain surgery, which is opening up his head and sticking hands down there and going in after it. And he decided not to. He decided, well, if you operate on my pituitary the first time and you didn't succeed, the second time would be less likely. It's more of a mess in there. There's surgical changes. And if you can't succeed when it's easier, how can you succeed when it's harder? And it's a very valid point. I would agree. He came to us for focused treatment called brain radiosurgery, and we were the first ones in New York to offer brain radiosurgery, and we've been doing it for about 25 years. So I have a long track record, longer than anyone else in the New York area, one of the longest experiences in America and the world, in fact. And the beauty of brain radiosurgery is we can zero in, hit the tumor. Now, the tumor can be a brain tumor. In this case, pituitary is not exactly part of the brain, but it's pretty close to the brain, kind of an outpocketing of the brain. We're able to attack the tumor and try to leave the healthy tissues alone. It's unlike surgery. There's no cutting, there's no bleeding, there's no operations, there's no ICU, all that stuff. There's no one's hands in your head. We just send in treatment and hit the tumor. And actually, we've reanalyzed our data over these years, and our success rate is very, very, very high for stopping or shrinking pituitary tumors. We actually have a book and a DVD to send out for people that want to see examples of our work in brain tumors. So this gentleman finished his treatment on Monday, last week, Monday. It hasn't even been a week since he finished. He went and got a new MRI on Friday, and he got it at one of our places, one of our preferred places where we can call up and speak to the radiologist. And the patient finished his MRI about 3 o'clock, and by 3:15 he was over in our office, and by 3:16 he had the answer. And the answer is that the pituitary already shrank. The height went from 1.44 centimeters down to 1.33 centimeters. And of course, he was very happy. I was happy. He asked me what I thought was going to happen before we knew the answer, and I said it would be probably about the same. And yet it's already shrunken just 4 days after finishing our fractionated brain radiosurgery in our office, Radiosurgery New York at 38th and Broadway. So he's happy. I'm happy. He's going to come back and get a new scan in a few months. He's doing well. His muscles are being built. He has his customers that he's training. He is doing great, and his pituitary tumor is shrinking without cutting, no bleeding. So he's happy, I'm happy, everyone's happy. If you have any questions, we're live in the WOR studio. This is not a canned show. So you can call us at 1-800-321-0710, 1-800-321-0710. You'll get Bob and Ed to answer the phone, and they'll put you through. And you're welcome to call about anything that's relevant. So relevant. Hey, here's a story that is really moving, and really I'm proud of this story. This is a story about a man, about 55 years old, was born in India, has been in the United States for the last 30 years, had colon cancer, he had surgery and chemo radiation. He came to us March 2013, so more than a year ago. At that time, he had had all that treatment. He was in intractable pain. He couldn't sit, he couldn't stand, he couldn't move. He was in intractable pain. He was on narcotics. His doctors told him that was the end. It was hopeless. He came to us with this big masses of cancer by the spine. It had been previously radiated, chemoed, and surgery, and it kept growing. I explained the possibilities of treatment, the possibilities. We can't guarantee anything to anybody, of course, other than we'll try. And then we called his insurance company. And wow, it took me days and days on the phone with the insurance company to get approval. I think some places and some doctors don't want to fight for the patient just because it takes so much time and effort. And it does take a lot of time and a lot of effort to fight for a patient. It's not just getting on the phone or saying it on the radio, we fight for the patient. We actually fight for the patient. And by fighting for the patient means you try to explain what the options are. Of course, ultimately the patient decides. And then in some cases, you need to speak to the insurance companies to get them to agree. And I got a person on the phone who made it so difficult for this man. She refused multiple times, and we kept asking. The man was pushing me, and he was in pain, and I really wanted to try to help him. So we had the primary doctors and the cancer doctors all saying you should go on hospice, which is waiting for the inevitable. But he didn't want that. And then again, the patient's in charge of his body. The patient's in charge. And then we went to the insurance company, and they pushed, you should go on hospice. And finally, when I made them understand, he didn't want to go on hospice. I made them understand that we have a track record of treating patients, even when standard radiation, standard chemo, and surgery don't work. We have a track record that's often very helpful. And finally, the insurance company let me have 5 treatments. They gave approval for 5 treatments. And then I had to negotiate the dose of the radiation. They wanted me to give a little dose. And I explained, little doses don't work. That's why standard radiation didn't work for this man before. It had standard radiation with little doses, and it didn't work. The beauty of radiosurgery. How does radiosurgery work? Radiosurgery works because we focus the beam on the cancer. We have a stereotactic frame, which is non-invasive. There's no cutting. There's no bleeding. We focus the beam, we hit the cancer, we use larger doses of radiation which have different radiobiologic principles, which are more likely to kill the cancer. And that's how we did this work. So, we treated him more than a year ago, and he walks in my office yesterday, actually Friday. He had 1 year pain-free, doing well, living his life, when March 2013 they said he should go home and die. And this just tells you the difference of philosophy of how we treat patients, the difference of our work versus standard work. And when some people say, oh, I'm going to go ask my doctor about you, that's not a fresh second opinion. That's a stale first opinion. Because the same first doctor is not going to say, oh, I forgot to tell you to go to Dr. Lederman. He's most likely going to tell you, that's nothing. I would have thought of that. I would have told you that if I thought it was going to work. That's not a fresh second opinion. A fresh second opinion means you come in, we look at your records, and we try to think about your case in a fresh way to give you an option. Just like this man who a year ago, he thought he had no options. His doctors told him he had no options. And he came in, he got treated, and 1 year later, he lived without pain, doing the things he wanted to do, and now he's here to come back to talk about what more he should do. 1 year, more than a year, with radiosurgery, 5 treatments. So, if you have questions, want to think about different options for you, give us a call at 212-CHOICES. We have a free booklet DVD. We're happy to provide a second opinion that's fresh, not stale. 212-246-4237. 212-246-4237. We have some callers, but first we're going to hear from our sponsor, Our sponsor with the beautiful voices.
For cancer treatment, most prefer effective, non-invasive, well-tolerated outpatient therapy. With Dr. Lederman, the radiosurgery pioneer, that's our goal too. He's first in America, first in New York, first for you. With body radiosurgery, we hit your cancer with no cutting, no bleeding. Dr. Lederman has decades of experience with primary and metastatic, large or small cancers from head to toe. Cancer treatment with possibly a second chance for you, even if chemo, radiation, or surgery didn't work or isn't tolerated.